Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is directed by Tim Burton and stars Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. The film tells a story about Charlie Bucket trying to find a golden ticket to be able to get into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Except this time, we're in the perspective of Willy Wonka himself. We get to learn more about his backstory, how he came to form the chocolate factory, and we get to learn more about his life. The movie sets him up and kind of shows him in a few scenes early in the film, though we don't get a good look at him until we actually get to the chocolate factory. And this is where the movie divides them. Because we learn a lot about Willy Wonka here, it feels like we're watching a Halloween movie where we're learning too much about Michael Myers, and the less mysterious and intriguing he gets applies to Willy Wonka here. At least to some people. Now, how do I feel about this? Well, because we already had a Willy Wonka movie that talks about Willy Wonka as a mysterious figure and someone to be kind of iffy on because he has some hidden intentions. This movie, I'm fine with it showing a bit more of who Willy Wonka is, because for a remake, you gotta do something different. You gotta tell the story in a different perspective at least. Something like what the Planet of the Apes did when those movies came out with their remakes, and that worked tremendously well. I'm not saying that this movie is as good as the Planet of the Apes. Far from it. Not even Tim Burton was able to be that good with his remake of Planet of the Apes. But I think he had kind of the right idea as to how to frame this movie. As the original movie, we're in Charlie Bucket's perspective throughout. In this film, we're more so in the perspective of Willy Wonka, which means these titles should really switch around and these movies would probably be a bit more accurate, okay? So, in my opinion, I like this change. However, I will say that I understand the criticism of this movie showing us too much of Willy Wonka's life. I think showing us his life trying to make the factory work, how he starts off small and making these deals and everything, really do work. And I feel like we could have done less with showing his childhood with his father. I mean, we can have hints of that, but if we're going to have that father story, I feel like we could have done better without showing that aspect, as we slowly hint towards a side of him that is still trying to come to terms with the disappearance of his father and how he left him as a kid and how he went to try and form the chocolate factory. We could have had hints of that. We don't have to show flashbacks to that time because I think it ruins more so the mystery of Willy Wonka. There should be at least be a hint of mystery with this character. And if we're just given that throughout the film, just little hints with the way Johnny Depp performs his character, which in my opinion, works for this version at least. He is a bit creepy. He seemed like he will kill me in a split second. But I think this unhinged version of Willy Wonka works tremendously well here, and I got a kick out of it, even though it's nowhere near to the same level as Gene Wilder's performance. I think a performance like this could have worked with having us kind of be more iffy about this Willy Wonka, trying to figure out what's going on. And I feel like that is my biggest problem of the film. It just ruins a bit of the mystery of Willy Wonka here. As for the rest of the film, the performances are good enough. The child actors are fine, and while they don't come near to the same level as charm and wit as the original kids, they are still good enough. Though Charlie Bucket is a bit stale in many places, though I wouldn't say he is like the worst performing child actor I've ever seen. He's definitely the blandest in this entire group of kids, performance-wise. Character-wise, he is more so the same as we learn in the original. But where in the original it takes a little bit less time as to having Charlie Bucket find these golden tickets and trying to find any sort of luck in his life, this kind kind of feels like it's taken a little bit too long. At least pacing wise. I don't think the pacing of the first act worked as well as the pacing in the original's first act. Though the pacing does get a lot better as the movie goes on and we get to the chocolate factory. That's when the movie gets a lot more entertaining, especially with its visuals and set designs, which for a Tim Burton movie look incredible. To this day, I still absolutely love the way this chocolate factory looks. It looks very different from the original, but in a Tim Burton-esque way. It's still fantastic to look at. I love the way each room is designed. In some ways they are similar to that of the original in terms of the way they're supposed to be, like the rooms in the original. They're kind of exaggerated a bit, and I like that. I like that the film was still able to feel like a different movie. With a remake, you need to be different. You need to feel different. You can't just rely on feeling like the exact same as the original. That's what the Lion King remake failed to do. It just only did it realistically, but it's still design-wise just the same as the original. This, design-wise and aesthetically, it is pretty different, though it still follows the skeletons of what made those sets and everything work. In my opinion, maybe because I really am a big fan of Tim Burton, I like his style, that this kind of look work for me. I just don't think the storytelling and pacing of the film is as good as the original. I feel like if I had to give any criticism, it's that the characterization of Willy Wonka and the pacing of the story. I just don't think it is as strong. I like that the movie is different. It's trying to go for a different perspective. It's doing things different, and I like that. I want it to do that. But there are caveats to that prevent it from being as good as that original movie. Overall, I still really enjoy this movie. It's just that in the storytelling department, it's a bit clunky and could have used a few rewrites here and there to make the story a bit stronger. But for the most part, the movie, to me, is carried by great visuals, fun enough performance, especially a weird one from Johnny Depp, which I still for the most part enjoy, and incredible music by Danny Elfman. Like, how could you not love Danny Elfman? At least before Justice League. Everything after that is just trash. I don't care about the new Danny Elfman scores. I'm sorry. I just didn't care. But all in all, I found this movie to still be pretty enjoyable, and I'm going to give Charlie and the Chocolate Factory a B. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.